Hey, it's Nurse Tanya. Let's talk a little bit about fear. I have had such a great morning out reflecting, took a great walk, did some grounding, and I have this gal, Project Me with Tiffany, that I love to listen to on my walks. She's got a great podcast if you want to check her out. She was challenging me this morning to find some of my caps and identify some of my fears that are holding me back. So here's what I want to share. This is going to be super vulnerable. So my platform is a nurse that is divorced from healthcare, from sick care. And I'm always pretty careful about how I word things. Like, I really want to be out of the box and shout it from the rooftops. But I remember as a nurse how all the nurses and the doctors talk about anti-vaxxers and people who go against the grain in the break room. So I know what that community says about me and what I'm up against, even in the spiritual warfare. That spirit of pharmakia that I'm up against, I'm going to say out loud, it scares me. So if you're listening to me and you're a praying person, pray for me. Because those are big things. Those are things I don't take lightly. A lot of my story, part of my story, how I came about this was my heart's desire to stick up for my grandbabies and my daughter-in-law. The oldest she's going to be turning 4, and I was so proud of my daughter-in-law when she was pregnant, and she said, I don't want to vaccinate these kids. I don't want to do it. I want to hold off. I want to know who they are. I want to give them a clean slate. So I was moved by that. I thought, wow, what an amazing mom. She's so smart. She didn't know, or she does know, what I didn't know. I just praise the Lord every day that in my stupidity, when I was a young mom, I didn't question anything. I just did what I was told. And I'm just so thankful that my kids weren't totally vaccine injured. I would say what I know now, just a few little health things, like my daughter had a little hormone imbalance, a little PCOS. I would say we could take some of that root cause back to vaccines for sure. She was on soy formula because in my generation, that's when formula was really being pushed and breastfeeding was out. So I just thank God for his hand in protecting me and my family from my stupidity, my not knowing, my not questioning. So when my daughter-in-law said this was the path she was going to take, oh, my heart leapt. I was, as a nurse, I have repented for what injections I gave because I didn't know any better. But I truly felt that I was just doing my job. I wasn't there I never solicited them. I just did what was required of me, what was told. I didn't say one way or the other to the patient. It wasn't my business, so I really stayed impartial when it came to things like that. And even in my early days as a nurse, I never was big on medications. I kind of was more psychosocial, more inclined to try to do things the hard way and, kind of that before just going to a pill, even in my own health. And that I'll probably do a little video on later. But anyway, I'm not harboring guilt and trauma for what I did in my role as a job. I really worked my way through that. But when my daughter-in-law said, I don't want to vaccinate. I don't want to vaccinate these kids. I just was instantly had those traumatic memories like, oh man, I know how you are going to get talked about. I know how you are going to get bullied, and I need to do something about it. I need to stand up for you. Whether I go to your appointments with you so you don't have to take that on by yourself. And then it led me to going to kind of a rally, information, education, in Bismarck, North Dakota, and the energy of like-minded people who are saying, no, this is not right. We don't do this to babies. We don't do this to adults. And it was all kind of right as that big, bad pandemic was about to break loose on the earth. It was just kind of right before that. So when I went there, that's where I found my destination. I found my answers and I started my education as a practitioner, holistic.
If you're ready to take back control of your health, you're in the right place. Welcome to Awaken Wellness with me, Tanya Candy, registered nurse and health coach. Now, I'm not your typical nurse. I consider myself divorced from traditional healthcare. I broke free of the sick care system in 2019 when I realized that the root cause to my sickness, my autoimmune disease, and my chronic pain was me. If you're ready for truth, for clarity, for honesty in a tough, love, compassionate way, I'm the coach for you. Join me while we dig in to our root causes of sickness and disease.
So that was the start to the start of my big change. My big career change was protecting my family, protecting my grandbabies, and supporting their mom in what is to come. And I knew then that it was going to be hard, and that was before the world got this new level of crazy. That was before that. Right time, right place, right motivation. And you know, there's so many layers to my story. There's so many layers to everybody's story. Part of my story with I'm just gonna say vaccines. I don't know what kind of censored that is. We'll find out. I'm not that popular on any of these social media, so we'll just see what happens. But myself, when I moved, I was totally being lazy. I was pressured. I was under stress. I was trying to move to this community. I was getting remarried, blending families, all of the excuses, and switching jobs in the medical profession. I couldn't find my vaccine records, and it was probably wouldn't have been as hard as I thought it was. It was just one more stress I couldn't deal with, and I was so ignorant, so blatantly ignorant. As a nurse, I didn't think there was anything bad in those damn things. So, under pressure, I just took them all again. To get to work, to get this job going, I said, just give them to me. Just give them to me again. Whatever was required. I don't even remember. But it was a handful of them. And that was probably at least 15 years ago. And for me, I already had layers of root causes that were setting up some really bad events in my body. Now knowing what I know, I had a huge parasite infestation probably since childhood that really affected my muscles, that made me think I had fibromyalgia. I years ago was in so much pain. I never did go on the pharmaceuticals, even back, just mostly because I was really stubborn. And I had worked in healthcare long enough to know that gabapentin really does some bad things in people's bodies, in their minds, changes your personality. I knew that muscle relaxers I couldn't work on, they made me too goofy. And then I worked in the jail environment and with addiction long enough to know that there's no way I was going on painkillers because they wreck people's lives and they don't fix anything. So those things I did know about me, and I'm super stubborn. And so anyway, I had plenty of root causes. I had been on a proton pump inhibitor for most of my adult life, every day. When you take away stomach acid, nothing works right. Parasites grow, bad things happen. Now where I'm at, I know that I had some Lyme disease, I have Epstein-Barr virus, all these things that absolutely don't affect me anymore because I've been working on my root causes. So sorry, I tend to, but it's all connected. It's all together and you need to hear it all. So, I had taken a handful of those vaccines again, just to save myself the stress of trying to find them. I was being super pressured at work. There were a couple years that I took flu shots because of that pressure, and Lord, am I glad that I'm out of that environment. So, back to my daughter-in-law being so smart and such a good mom and saying no. And me just wanting to support her. So then I start digging in and you start getting that different perspective and that different everything. Oh my Lord, what did I do to myself? Lord, what did I do to my kids? So I just praise the Lord. I just praise the Lord that they were protected in my stupidity. And I praise the Lord that as I have grown and changed and come to a new perspective, that they're here with me, that they are finding the value in eating better, in organic food. My daughter, she has one baby, and she totally got through childbirth. She did have them in not a home setting. She had them in the hospital, but she got out of there without them injecting one thing into that baby. She uses chiropractic care. She said forget it with those routine follow-up visits where they just bully and manipulate you. And he is the most gorgeous, clean slate of a kid you will ever meet. He is happy. He is above average intelligence. He is above average in his growth and just beautiful. She breastfed, all these things that in my generation, if you're where I am in your 50s, that I'm sure there were people who knew better back then, but I wasn't one of them. My kids were on the WIC program. They got their shots. I did formula, and because there was the WIC program and it didn't cost me anything, and breastfeeding was really kind of taboo and out back then, at least in the circles that I traveled in. And that I was a hairdresser at that time. I was not a nurse. I was a hairdresser, but just totally programmed. So again, praise the Lord, I praise the Lord, I praise the Lord. And those prayerful grandparents that were in my kids' life that protected them from my stupidity. So if you're still watching this and my rambling, no matter where you're at, if you're fully awake to the programming, or if you're totally in disagreement with me. That's fine too. Each and every one of us can only do you. You do you, and I'll do me. And as a gray hair, as a grandparent, I see it as my role here to pray and protect my lineage, my bloodline, and anybody who chooses to come under my wing, whether it's my clients or just people that follow me on social media. I am praying for you. I'm praying for your protection. Like, oh my goodness. People, you have to realize what this programming, what we're up against. If you're not scared, you should be. If you're not scared, you're just oblivious. I just gotta change the page before I get too emotional about that. But I take my role as protector very seriously. One way I can protect them, one way I can protect you, is with a heavy metal detox and cleaning this stuff up.
Here's my shout out to all you DIY folks in the house. My heart is DIY as well. I love to do things myself. And these days in this wellness space, we've got so much information. We've got access to all the cool stuff like castor oil packs, adrenal cocktails, foot soaks, lymph massage, rebounding, grounding, fasting, keto, you name it, we've tried it. We all know what Barbara says. The one thing you don't get as a DIYer is access to professional products. Until now, I have designed a really unique DIY system that gives you access to Cellcore Biosciences. You have not really detoxed or done a parasite cleanse until you've experienced Cellcore's 4-month foundation program. And you won't really know the difference until you really know the difference. Go to my website, awakenwellnessllc.com, and find the DIY tab. Let's get you access.
So the heavy metal and parasite detox is for the sick as well as it is for the healthy. And if you are one of those that did some of those things, that we were just programmed to do, whether it was for yourself or your kids, and you're not seeing ill effects now, that doesn't mean that they won't show up 10 years later, 5 years later, 15 years later. And it's because our immune system, it gets burdened, and we chip away at the body little by little, bit by bit. There are definitely people who have instant bad reactions, and we can help you too. But people who don't have reactions, you still need to do a cleanup. Everybody needs to do a cleanup. So you grow old gracefully, so you stay healthy. Our world is so toxic. Our foods are so toxic. Chemtrails, pollution, what we eat, what we breathe, our emotional and mental stressors are higher and more real than they've ever been. So we've got to stay on this detox process, this anti-parasite process. We have to live like this. We do. We have to live in a constant state of playing offensively before we're forced to play defense. So that is really what I want to stress to you today, is to be on the offense. If you're not sick, if your kids are not sick, that is amazing. But still do some detoxing. Still do that heavy metal detox, stay on top of it, so these problems don't show up later. So your kids don't end up with fertility issues when they're ready to have babies. And then you have to try to figure out why. You have to try to figure out what's not working right, or they have to figure out. So stay offensively. Got this situation now. We see more and more. So this little story. I do, as a nurse, I appreciate those times when we need a fireman, when we need medical intervention to fix some stuff, and it absolutely happens. It might happen to me. It's probably happened to you. And we had a situation last summer where my grandbaby, the oldest one, she was so bit up with bug bites. And that, if you're looking at bug bites, there is a time to get an antibiotic. So you take care of some stuff before she ends up having problems in her 30s with fibromyalgia or other autoimmune disease, right? Because I'm just going to say it loud and proud for whoever to hear me, Lyme disease is a bioweapon, period. West Nile virus, bioweapon. Epstein-Barr, bioweapon. So anyway, she's full of bites, and we don't go to the doctor for much of anything. But I was like, oh gosh, this is probably worth doing that first line round of antibiotics. So we go in, and of course that practitioner tells me there's no Lyme disease in our state. There hasn't been for 40 years. And I'm like, whatever. I'm not going to argue. Obviously, it's not going to work. So it's just time to leave before this lady tries to convince us of her agenda any further. Where, she's not going to help us. So we're just going to have to take care of this on our own, herbally and energetically. And that's fine. We did. But this grandbaby in particular, we know already has some parasite issues that we're working on. She doesn't have any jabs, so that's good. If she did, I truly believe her little immune system, we would be seeing some major problems already. But her mama feeds her good. She's off food dyes. So we're doing other things that are supporting her body to heal on its own terms and get rid of these parasites, take care of these insect bites that could definitely lead to problems later down the road. I've got another story. It just hurts my heart so bad. You can, where I'm at in life, you can lead people to water, but you can't force them to drink. And I've got a family that I worked with that is just dear to my heart. Like on a personal level, I can see their struggle. And to me, it's super plain. I can quantumly test the situation from where I'm at. It's super plain. Huge, huge parasite problem. They farm, they ranch, they love animals. And now the daughter has a diagnosis of Lyme disease, which that should be not a big deal. We've all experienced Lyme disease. It's in all of us. It's just if it is activated or if there is a parasitic issue underlying or other jabs or other reasons that the immune system can't handle the Lyme. So we have to detox. We have to get the heavy metals. We have to get the old medication, vaccination out of the cells and dealt with, the parasites dealt with, nutrition supported, and voila, the immune system just takes care of the Lyme. The Lyme is not the problem. It never was the problem, and it shouldn't be a problem if the other things are healthy, if the body is healthy. A healthy body doesn't have Epstein-Barr issues, doesn't have Lyme issues, doesn't have shingles issues, doesn't have chickenpox issues. It's not about the virus, it's the host, it's the body. We have to work on the body. So here I am again, off on a bunny trail in a big picture kind of way. But everything goes back to our mind. I do me, you do you. So, in a sense, I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm just telling you my story. I'm just telling you if you don't have stomach acid, you're going to have a problem. If you don't poop every day, you're going to have a problem. If you've been vaccinated, you're probably going to have some kind of problem. Not that you're never going to have any problems, but there are layers of problems, layers and layers and layers. And if we have self-love and self-respect, we have to do what we can to support the body. Remove what is not supposed to be there and replenish what is missing, and your body will heal.
So, where do we go from here? We can't unlearn what we have learned. I work with so many people who need help fixing the damage that a routine over the counter parasite cleanse has done in their body. I can't stress enough how dangerous messing around and half assing your way through a parasite cleanse and detox is. Everything I say, I know, is from a place of experience. I had done parasite cleanses even under guided practitioner care for a good 6 weeks or better, and just really managed to piss those parasites off. And years later, have way more damage because of it. As a consumer, as a practitioner, I tried product lines after product line after product line, and there is nothing out there that compares to the products offered by Cellcore Biosciences. They are expensive. Yep, they are, because they're manufactured in the United States, because the ingredients are good, organic, and sourced in the right way, because they're rigorously tested, because they do everything right before it gets to us. And yes, there is a cost for that. But you, my friend, just like me, I'm worth it. You are worth it. When we do this stuff right, we don't have to redo it. We don't have to do it again. With Cellcore Biosciences, the 4-month foundation, you get your terrain right so your body can heal. If you need more than that foundation, I am taking a few additional one-to-one clients, and I would love to work with you. I do energetic testing as well as quantum muscle testing so we can figure out where the perfect place to start is for you as a bio individual. I highly recommend some testing and that one-on-one care if you are suffering with any kind of chronic illness. I'm super easy to get a hold of. Go to my link in bio, click that first link, it'll take you to my website. Once you get there, look around, watch some of my other videos, and get to know me before you give me a call. Make sure that I'm a good fit for where you're at in life. I hope to see you soon.